2, 3, 4.
Hello and welcome to the NESN Soccer Podcast. I'm Mark with Marcus and Nicholas Goss, back to talk about some more of the 2018 FIFA World Cup. Argentina somehow, some way found the back of the net, defeated Nigeria 2-1. Iceland did not win their game, so Argentina, after all their turmoil, all their drama and coaching decisions and who actually picked the lineup and whatever, is through to the round of 16. It has earned them a showdown with France, which we will get to a little later. But man, Argentina-Nigeria was an incredible game with two really good goals from Argentina, two really good moments of brilliance from Lionel Messi and Marcos Rojo, the Manchester United player product. I'll start with you, Nick. What were you kind of feeling going into this match? And then how did it all sort of shape out over the 90 minutes?
You know, I was looking for Messi to step up.
He did.
He hasn't had the best tournament. He missed that penalty against Iceland. But he was really good in this game. Scored their first goal, a very nice strike to the far side of the net. And then Nigeria tied. Nigeria's a tough team, and I really feel bad for them because they're a quality side. But Argentina was able to get a late goal from a backup Manchester United defender. Not how I thought the script would be written, but an exhilarating match. Just like on Monday, we had some really great finishes. And Messi, towards the end of the game was fighting to keep possession. Then the attacking third, defending, diving everywhere. You could tell that he really wanted this, and he knew that, his legacy was going to take a hit if he went out in the group stage, especially with Ronaldo taking his team down to a round of 16. So I thought it was a fantastic performance by Argentina. They needed to win, and they did it, so props to them. But I'm not as hopeful of their chances of winning this tournament as I was before the tournament, after seeing them
I can agree with that I'm not really confident in Argentina to do much in the knockout rounds, especially getting France in the round of 16, who hasn't really looked all that great either, but
they have not.
They've looked better than Argentina. So that's kind of tough. But Marcus, you were kind of really down on Argentina and their whole team atmosphere going into this game. Mm-hmm. Did it improve just within the course of the game itself, or what?
I want to talk about the turning point in the story of this Argentina team, which happened, I think, either yesterday or this morning, when Argentina fans camped outside the team hotel and sang and chanted until the players came down and acknowledged them and came out and sang and chanted with them. Wow. And there's video on the internets where it was a great scene. It was a big impromptu pep rally, which I think it repaired a fracture that existed between the players and the fans after the Croatia game. The press and the fans were booing them pretty vociferously after that 3-0 loss. So it seems like there's some unity between the players and the crowd, which is encouraging. Now there's still this, I guess we can call it a reported division between the players and the coach, which I don't really know where that stands right now, but...
Well, it was interesting, the coach just walked immediately off the field once the game ended.
Yes, it didn't celebrate with the players or
Right.
anything. So yeah, I'm not really sure what the situation is, but the post-game scenes will definitely be interesting. Will Argentina be, I think somebody on the Fox broadcast asked if we could take them as a new team or like this win changes the narrative, and I would say no.
Not enough, at
because,
least. Right.
Yeah, the performance wasn't convincing enough, and Marcos Rojo was that was a wonder strike, his
Right.
goal. One, for him to be in that position. Two, to finish it off, do that 10 times, and it doesn't come off like that. So I'm coming just short of calling Argentina lucky to be moving on, but yeah, they're lucky.
And even Messi's goal, as great as Messi did, and it was an incredibly difficult goal to just the first touch to control it and everything, that was like a pretty long ball to pretty much just Messi up top.
Yeah,
and
pass.
very easily, just by one touch could have just dribbled out of bounds or whatever. So it wasn't a complete performance, but it was enough. I think my favorite part of this match was Diego Maradona and
yes,
all the so many different shots of him. I think at one point,
of the show.
At one point, making some inappropriate hand gestures. I think right after the goal.
I think he put 2 middle fingers up at one point.
I think that's what happened. Was it right after the goal or right after the final whistle?
Right after Rojo's goal.
Yeah, there must have been fans in front of him yelling at him.
I believe it was to Nigeria fans, which is funny because before the game he was dancing with dancing with a Nigeria fan, which is one of the greatest videos I've ever seen. Really,
I think you gotta want Argentina to stay in so that we can get more Maradona video.
What does that tell you that Maradona is the biggest star of this Argentina show?
That they aren't doing well. That's what it tells me.
Yeah.
So Jorge Sampaoli, there's no way to really tell, but I'm pretty sure he's just not really in charge anymore. And I'm not saying that Messi picked the starting lineup.
What are you basing that on?
Well, all the rumors and then him walking off the field immediately as the game ended.
Yeah.
And I didn't really see any interaction between the players and him throughout the game, and any sort of indication that he was deciding anything that was going on the field. That's just me. So
I mean,
well,
maybe, but
1 + 1 = 3. That's just me. Yeah, he was on the field. He's back in the dugout. I don't know what's really going on. It looked like at halftime Messi was giving the team talk, but we just don't know.
Tough to tell.
Yeah. Anyway, continue.
I don't like their chances against France. I mean, do we want to move on from this Nigeria match before we talk about the matchup with France?
I mean, what more is there to say? Messi's good. Maradona's great.
Javier Mascherano I don't think he played very well. And one of the Fox broadcasters said he had a good game, but it seemed like...
What game were they watching?
It seemed like every bad moment was coming from Mascherano. The worst was the PK he gave up, but even early on, he was just
terrible though. That call,
awful.
And they went to video replay and still made the same bad call. I don't understand.
I was a little surprised the penalty was given for the fact that we see that type of contact and grabbing all the time in the box.
Yeah. The Nigeria player probably fell pretty easily.
He threw himself to the ground.
But yeah, your point still stands. Mascherano was not good, and
he was playing so many bad balls in the midfield.
France's highly touted attack has not really broken through yet in this World Cup. It's possible, I guess, that they could against Argentina if Mascherano in the back four continues to play this poorly.
Right.
I expect a very open game.
Yeah.
With a lot of chances.
It would be great.
and yeah, Mascherano's going to have to play a lot better. Mbappe hasn't broken through yet, neither has Griezmann. So I think we'll see a lot of goals. I don't know what the over-under is, but I would take the over right now.
I think also Higuain, although he hasn't scored, and he did sort of have a pretty bad attempt at a pretty solid chance.
The Fox Soccer Twitter account tweeted a video of that goal with the caption, "Stop us if you've heard this before." Higuain missed another great chance.
Brutal.
They're just going at him.
But I thought he did play well, sort of from a pressure applying standpoint. The difference in this game for Argentina, for me, was they were actually hustling and on the ball and attacking or putting pressure on the opposition 75% of the way up the field, as opposed to, I think, the last two games just kind of backing off and expecting the ball to just come to them at some point. So that's kind of a little more inspiring that at least there's more effort, it looks like, from the team so far. Yeah. And Sergio Aguero didn't start in this game, so he's just kind of another option of just maybe how they can change things up. And if they can figure out a way to get him involved and be effective, then, I mean, they still have a chance to make some noise. But it's very difficult with France, and they're gonna have a tough road ahead. On the other hand, Croatia came out and ended up with 9 points and has looked very good doing so.
Yeah.
And they end up with a matchup with Denmark, which is pretty favorable for them. So this could be sort of maybe the run of a lifetime for this Croatia team. They've got their golden generation. But what do we like about Croatia's chances coming out of Group D, looking maybe as one of the best teams in the tournament so far?
Yeah, +6 goal differential, only 1 goal allowed, 7 scored, as you mentioned, perfect record. I mean, if the bandwagon isn't full, it's going to be pretty soon.
Right.
I mean, they are, and this was a tough group. I mean, Iceland, Nigeria, and Argentina are 3 quality sides. For them to go 3-0 and give up 1 goal, that's really spectacular, and I think they're a dangerous side. I think they'll comfortably beat Denmark, and I haven't looked at the rest of the bracket yet, but they're going to be a very tough out. They don't make a lot of mistakes. We know they have great midfielders led by Luka Modric. This is a really good team. I would not be surprised if, at this juncture, knowing what we know from the semifinal or the group stage play, I wouldn't be surprised if they made it onto the semifinal or quarterfinals at least.
Yeah, I think Croatia has the winner, or Croatia, if they get past Denmark, as the winner of Argentina-France.
It would be Spain-Russia, actually.
Oh, Spain-Russia.
Which I think is even better.
Another winnable game.
Which, okay, even better for Croatia. Definitely good enough. Definitely, they're so good in the midfield. They can take control of games and then win it in a lot of different ways, just because they're that versatile and familiar with one another.
Scoring 2 goals against Iceland, which we've seen and has been proven to be pretty difficult to do. When Iceland is fighting for their lives and Croatia is already through and safe, to win anyways is so impressive. And looking at the bracket and how they get Denmark and then they get the winner of Spain versus Russia, I like them to make it to the semifinal, especially with how low I am on Spain these days. Nick, I know you're still high on Spain, and that sort of brings us to Group B, and sort of the drama-filled storylines of Portugal versus Spain.
Let's go.
They do end up being the 2 to advance. Morocco and Iran had plenty to say about it, but in the end, it was Portugal and Spain. Spain won the group, but I hope they don't continue to be a headache and I won't be convinced by Spain until they're in the final or something like that. But they just didn't look impressive to me. The most impressive they looked is when they tied Portugal to me.
They easily could have drew with Iran. They had that. Iran had that goal taken away for offside, I believe.
Yeah, and it was.
It was offside, but it wasn't convincing. You expect Spain to look better against Iran, and Morocco, they were very lucky to tie at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they were. They did play very well against Portugal, and probably should have won that game. But they did what they had to do in getting through. But yeah, it was less than convincing for sure. They need to tighten some stuff up. The back four does not look very good. They're just not converting enough of their chances. I think they're creating enough chances. Iniesta's been pretty solid in the midfield, but they're not finishing. So that is a concern for me. Although I will say Russia, I think that's a very winnable game for them. Russia looked really good until they finally played a good team in Uruguay and lost 3-0. I know it's the host nation and they'll have the crowd behind them and all that, but
it's in Moscow.
It is, but I'd still be shocked if Spain lost because they are a much better team than Russia.
I would say crazier things have happened,
even
in this World Cup, than Russia to beat Spain.
But I think if Spain loses this game, that's a huge failure for them.
Spain, they're on borrowed time, whether they go out in the round of 16 or the quarterfinals or, God forbid, the semifinals. Yeah, this team is just stumbling and tripping over itself through the group stage, and when the stakes increase over in the knockout rounds, I don't see how Spain is, absent some sort of dramatic change in their camp and their atmosphere, which I don't see happening again because they had one on the eve of the World Cup.
Yeah.
I just don't see this team going very far. And, they came within 5 minutes of elimination yesterday and, made it through as group winners somehow.
One of the coolest things of the World Cup for me so far was the Iranian fans chanting outside the Portugal hotel the night before Iran versus Portugal, which happened yesterday. And I guess, and I'm still not completely convinced that the video is actually Ronaldo, but Ronaldo comes to the window and makes like the sleeping motion. And I mean, it's just another great video from the World Cup. But Ronaldo started with a hat trick and then scored in the 4th minute versus Morocco. And then basically there wasn't much else from that entire Morocco game, and he was pretty quiet against Iran.
Missed a penalty, I believe, too, right? Against Iran.
Well, it was blocked, and it was a really good save, but it was in a position to be saved, right?
Yeah.
So
it was a really good save by a goalkeeper who was homeless 7 years ago.
Yes, that's
one of the most incredible stories is that Iran's goalkeeper, I'm not even going to pretend like I know what his name is, let alone how to pronounce it. He's the son of nomads, and at age 15 he ran away to pursue his dream in soccer, and he washed cars and lived on the streets of Tehran until he caught on with a club and eventually started getting paid for it, and now he's Iran's #1 and saved a penalty from Cristiano Ronaldo.
He was homeless and chose to sleep outside of the club facility, basically outside of a soccer field. And the players on the team, and I guess people that would soon be his teammates, were giving him money as they went in and walked into practice. And soon enough, he was on the field with them.
Yeah.
And has made and blocked Ronaldo on a PK in the World Cup as a moment of his career.
How many goalkeepers can say they've done that on the stage?
Back to Ronaldo, though, it seems like maybe the fire has run out and they're going up against Uruguay, and it's a tough one. And Uruguay they looked great against Russia, who I guess has been their toughest competition so far, and they were able to get sort of an easy 9 points in Group A. But this is another matchup of big clubs or big countries, and I kind of like Uruguay here, and I like Luis Suarez. He seems to be on point. Portugal, the game against Spain was great, but it seems like maybe they were really up for that one, and it's not hard to get up for the round of 16, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Uruguay just for me has more options, more guys who can step up. You mentioned Suarez, Cavani. They have just a really solid team, and for Portugal, you don't know who's going to show up. Quaresma had a great goal against Iran, but is he going to show up in the next game? Who of Ronaldo's teammates are going to give him the support he needs to beat a really good team like Uruguay? So I would say Uruguay. I would bet on them if I had to. But again, it's Ronaldo, and he's capable of scoring 3 by himself against just about anyone. So I think this is going to be another fantastic game. But I would give a slight edge to Uruguay.
I'm going to shade to Portugal.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Sticking with your guns.
Yeah.
Got to.
They're the defending European champions, and that means something.
It does mean something. When you look at the rest of the group stage matches, what sticks out most to you? What I don't know. What games are you most looking forward to, and sort of who do you think still needs to prove something entering the round of 16 knockout stages? If any.
I'm actually sort of impressed with England. 8 goals scored. I believe that's the most of any team.
They're tied with Belgium.
And I guess Russia has 8 as well, but they've played all their 3 games yet. But England looks pretty good. And Tunisia and Panama are not the strongest competition, but I like the way England's playing. They came into this World Cup probably with the lowest expectations they've had in a while. And it's a likable group. It's a group that's playing hard. Gareth Southgate seems to know, what is going to bring the best out of his team. And even though
unicorn pool floaties.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Even though England and Belgium have both advanced, I think if they use this game as a measuring stick for the knockout stages, I think they could really help both teams, because I think both of these teams could do some damage in the knockout stages, especially Belgium, with the way they've played, and Lukaku is doing really well. So I'm very excited for that match. I hope they both take it seriously, even though they don't need the points. But England, for me, has been a bit of a revelation in the group.
I can agree with you. I'm surprised with how well they've played, and they've kind of just kept pace with Belgium. And it's going to be interesting to see how that game plays out, because they'll know who the winners of Group H are and the runner-up of Group H. And, I mean, that could be Colombia, or it could Poland's eliminated, but it could be Colombia, Senegal, or Japan. And just, it's like, it'll be tough to know if England versus Belgium is a true measuring stick for me, because they're never going to come out and say we played a certain way because we wanted to end up in this part of the bracket, but it might just sort of influence things, even on sort of like a subtle level. But for me, I'm most interested in the Germany-South Korea game, just to see how, because Germany could come out.
Which Germany will show up.
Yeah. And, obviously still everything to play for, but you would think South Korea is an opponent that they could run up and get a 3-0 victory on. But if they come out and they struggle to 2-1 victory, then, you kind of are really down on them entering the round of 16. And I'm also excited for Mexico and hope they can kind of just keep their winning ways going, because they're just so much fun to watch. I mean, I love their fans, and they're playing really well.
To answer one of your previous questions, you said who has something to prove still?
Yeah.
I think that was one. everybody but Mexico. Mexico has proven themselves. I opened up today talking about the unity that's required between players and fans, players and coaches, and players. And Mexico has it. In their win over South Korea on, I think that was Saturday, there was one moment where the fans were chanting Juan Carlos Osorio's name, which I was stunned by because he was either just tolerated in Mexico or loathed up until when did they play Germany? June 17th.
Basically, yeah.
Up until that morning,
there was no
Mexico's zeitgeist was not behind Osorio, and they were chanting "Oh, Profe Osorio" in the crowd. It was organic, and I was like, "Well, this is another check mark in Mexico's favor." Another thing I would be remiss if I did not note, but I have this theory that Mexicans are so happy right now. All right, I'm going to tell a story, and I don't want to be...
Sure.
I went to Anna's Taqueria on last week, Wednesday,
Fantastic.
and I got the biggest burrito I've ever had at any Mexican establishment. And, the guy put one scoop of steak in, which was huge. It was, bigger than normal. It was overflowing. And then he went and just put another, and I looked at him, and I was like, gracias. I have a feeling, I think everybody should test this out and, go patronize Mexican establishments. I think Mexicans are hooking up goods and services because they are so happy about how well their team is playing. I'm
definitely going to take you up on that.
There's a lot to be excited about so far.
Try it out. I went to a Mexican restaurant Sunday night, had a wonderful time. Food was great, service was great, and I think it's linked to the World Cup.
I mean, I'd believe it. It certainly would make sense.
Yeah, and by the way, this team is playing fantastically well, and I've said it publicly, but I'm on board with what they're doing. I'm not a Mexico fan, but very happy. I'm looking forward to Mexico games as events because they're, people are talking about them on the street. They're one of the real most pleasant surprises of the World Cup. And I'm giving all the credit to Juan Carlos Osorio. Well,
they'll end up probably with either Brazil or Switzerland in the round of 16. And either way, it's a tough matchup.
Yep.
But honestly, either way, I like them to win.
Mexico's playing better than both of those teams.
So
far.
Is this the year that they finally make it to that quarterfinal promised land that they're always looking for?
Yes.
I hope so. I think it would be great. Then they would probably play on my birthday, July 6th.
Wow.
Don't forget, guys. But
July what?
July 6th.
I already forgot. Mexico is, they have to be one of the top 4 teams in this tournament after 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even exaggerating. I know I'm prone to hyperbole on this format sometime, but pick out 4 teams playing better than Mexico right now in this World Cup. I don't think I can.
Well, I agree with you. For me right now, it's Croatia, Belgium, and Mexico. And sort of waiting to see what happens in that England-Belgium game to really get on board with Belgium. But for those 3, for me, even though they aren't the typical names, I think just have played the best. And
I've been saying I think this is going to be an outsiders World Cup.
And I'm all for it.
Croatia, Belgium, Mexico.
That'd be great.
Yeah, and then put one of the traditional powers in there.
Yeah,
none of the big powers are really flying. Germany, no. Spain, no. Argentina, God, no.
Brazil, not really.
Brazil, not really.
France is yet to look convincing as well.
France, no.
We could get a Germany-Brazil in the round of 16.
Yeah.
Argentina, France.
That'd be great.
Germany, Brazil.
I love having all these.
Portugal. Those are 3 heavyweight matches in the round of 16. And 3 really good teams are going to get knocked out.
That Uruguay-Portugal winner, I think, is going to go very far.
Think so?
Yeah. I would put Uruguay in that category of teams that are performing very well at this World Cup. They haven't been, they haven't lit anything up, but they're just quietly and effectively going about their business, and sleep on them at your peril.
Well,
as
we
Russia found out.
We could end up with a Portugal-Argentina quarterfinal. That would be
Dun, dun, dun.
fantastic. Also, would be on July 6th, my birthday. Don't forget.
When is that?
You're going to have to remind us every podcast, Mark. Just here until then.
But it's certainly all starting to shape out, and it's just, it's been an incredible World Cup.
Yeah.
It's just,
After
and honestly,
match day 1, I called it an instant classic, and I thought maybe I was getting a little ahead of myself.
I don't think you were.
Yeah, no, this has been very, very good.
And VAR, there was all this sort of like hesitating talk about VAR heading into the World Cup. I think it's been well executed, and somehow is exciting every time it happens.
It really is.
It is.
A minute there, you're like, oh, what are they going to do?
Yeah, and like it's so, I don't know what.
That's a little drama.
I don't know why it's so much different than other sports when they go to instant replay, but it's just.
Don't tell a Moroccan that
That's true.
VAR is working out swimmingly.
We've had a lot of goals this tournament too. I mean, the France-Denmark game on Tuesday afternoon was the only goalless draw of the tournament so far. So, not only are we seeing some exciting moments, but we're getting plenty of scoring, which is obviously great.
And some great goals too. Toni Kroos, my goodness.
Jesus.
Philippe Coutinho. Who scored that Belgium against Panama? Dries Mertens.
Yep.
Quaresma against Iran.
Hazard's delivery to Lukaku.
That was De Bruyne. Yeah.
De Bruyne, yeah.
England's 5 goals in the first half.
Yeah.
I don't know if you you should go scroll through their Twitter page for like that 45-minute period. It's just like they have this little animation they put up every time they score, and it's just like one after the other. It's been great. But all right, I think somehow we're already at a 30-minute podcast here.
Oh.
But I don't know. What else do you guys want to talk about before we get out of here, if anything? I'm not sure I got much. We'll be back. We'll have more podcasts to come.
How are you enjoying the broadcast? And I guess I don't really want to talk about that.
Well,
Where's Goose hitting? I haven't seen him in a while.
He was on yesterday.
Was he on yesterday?
I thought, or maybe on. Yeah, I don't really know what's going on. So the first weekend I watched it on Fox. The second weekend I was, I think, exclusively Telemundo, and the game broadcasts are the game broadcasts. I think I just prefer Telemundo because it helps me improve my Spanish, and I like the tone and the atmosphere a little bit better. But then the studio shows, boy, Fox, they do as well as they can. But
you haven't liked him?
No, I can only watch but so much of it before it gets. I feel like I'm being hit over the head
with the same stuff.
With the same stuff for just news. It's just a constant, audio visual pounding that. So.
Well, I tell you what, I have noticed a lot of. It's been pretty odd, and I haven't sat back and really watched. I think it's called FIFA World Cup Today. That pretty much happens between each match and pre and post matches.
Yeah, those are the ones that I've been
There's
watching.
A lot of very odd, awkward silence as they try to work in social media elements, and then they want Alexi Lawless and whoever else is up there to react to it, and they're sort of sitting there, and they probably just haven't even seen the video until it pops up in the broadcast. And I mean, it's difficult production. They have to produce however many hours of TV that depends on everything going on in the game in the first place. So it's not easy, but maybe it could be better. But I do like Jorge Perez Navarro, who is the Latino English-speaking Fox Sports announcer.
The play-by-play guy?
Yeah, he's done, I think, all the Mexico games, and I think he did Peru, and maybe did Colombia. But he is amazing. He's so passionate, and he's just yelling crazy things.
Why is he only doing games involving Latin American kids?
I guess that's
or
the strategy.
Latin American teams.
I guess that's the strategy, and I think it would be great if he did other games. It's clear that like they're doing Spanish-speaking games, but like he brings such excitement to really maybe not that exciting of a game.
Yeah, I mean, imagine him on that Sweden-Germany game,
or the Argentina game today would have been great. And all respect to Tony Meola, love the guy, but he's just kind of giving me some very drawn-out X's and O's analysis, and maybe that's not exactly what I want.
But that's what he's there for.
Yeah. Well, I think overall I give it a kind of a B+. I think it's been good. Certainly could be better. Certainly could be worse.
Jury's still up for me.
I mean, honestly, for me, I don't really pay much attention to these shows.
Right.
I'm all about the game.
Right.
Yeah.
Fair.
Because like, there's nobody on the set, with all due respect to the guys on there, whose opinion I have to have or I really, really respect.
Right.
So I mean,
I don't think there's anything crazy about saying that. Like,
right. I mean, they're not going to get the best because it's an American broadcast and we don't have a team in the World Cup.
Right.
I mean, they could, but who would be, the best?
Well, the best is probably an English-speaking, best possible football analyst, probably involved with the England team, and then maybe
someone from one of the English.
Not necessarily. I mean, what if you have somebody who works in England and covers England? What's he going to say about Nigeria, Argentina? That's going to be that illuminating.
And I guess that's the same problem that
it's the same problem any country has. Is that nobody knows everything about every team, unless you do a serious amount of homework.
Right. And I mean, Fox's broadcast approach has to be kind of like an even attention to the tournament as a whole, because they don't really have one specific team to follow.
Yes, and I'm actually happy about it. I think Fox is doing a good job with that, actually.
Yeah,
it's not,
I agree.
Instead of the jingoism we otherwise might have been subjected to, we're just getting a good look at the tournament as a whole and covering it for what it is.
I think we would have been given a lot of Michael Bradley features.
No, I cannot. Don't even start Michael Bradley. Not a fan.
It would have been a lot of well,
still should be in the team.
Yeah.
Sure, but like it would have been a lot of like focus on maybe a guy that really is not that big of an impact here at the World Cup, and it's not necessary. But World
Cup belongs to everybody, and I think Fox is doing a good job of sort of spreading that around, not zeroing in or hyping up or overselling one certain aspect of it. Although the commercials and the sponsors, I think that's actually what I have a problem with. I don't mind Fox's broadcasts. It's just these, telling America who to root for, and
there's a lot of that.
Yeah. The only commercial
that's
I think
the Volkswagen commercial.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. I just want to throw my laptop out the window when it comes on. But there's a McDonald's commercial.
I completely agree with that.
The McDonald's commercial where
I know.
They're saying like, what's tomorrow's breakfast game? that is the commercial that. Boom,
how have I not asked you about this yet?
It's the nail on the head. That perfectly sums up being a soccer fan and a World Cup fan in America.
I like a McGriddle with my.
Kudos to McDonald's for that commercial.
I should have asked you about that the first day of the tournament, that commercial.
Yeah.
But all right, well, more commercials to come at the World Cup.
What a way to end.
The group stage wraps up on Thursday, June 28th. That is 2 days from right now. We aren't sure of the next podcast, but there will be plenty more coverage to come. Head to NESN.com/World Cup for all of our coverage. You can also catch it on iTunes. You're probably already listening on iTunes, but if you're listening on YouTube, head to iTunes and search NESN, N-E-S-N, to find all NESN podcasts. And also keep a lookout for our digital show, World Cup Now, which will be happening weekly through the rest of the tournament. But thanks for joining us. Nick and Marcus, thank you guys. And Messi is through.